All right. So let's see. The second Innumerable Forms full length comes out this Friday, and Philosophical Collapse really just kind of doubles down on, I think, what was sort of in the peripheral vision of the first album, where generally speaking, it collects the sort of main songwriter's taste in death doom metal. It sort of captures what the capabilities of sort of the crew they put together. And this time around, the two guitarists who are variously involved in everything from Power Trip to Iron Lung, uh, popular thrash metal and grindcore and whatnot. They're definitely more involved in the songwriting process, uh, and as a result, it's a more guitar oriented, more riff oriented album with a lot more input and without becoming more technical. So what you get is an impressive, imposing album like the first was, but a more, I hate to say it, musical album. And what does that mean? It just means that these are songs that are a little bit more tuneful, a little bit more memorable. Um, this music is inherently cathartic, and what I mean by that is that they're expressing everything from depression to anger to there's it's emotionally driven music, and it's a good place to be in terms of death doom metal, especially the early '90s. It was impassioned music. It was uh, this was a time where romanticism in death metal was very popular and defining the forms, whereas today people are a little bit more nihilistic in their presentation and prose even. So this is a little bit of each. It's maybe a more modern way of expressing, uh, a little bit less sentimental, a little bit less tugging at the heartstrings so much as expressing doom, existential dread. Um, so it's very cold, but still tuneful in the way that early Paradise Lost was prior to Gothic. Um, but then you get sort of the next generation after that, the early My Dying Bride kind of stuff, which picked up on those ideas, took a little bit of the rock out of it, and added in maybe some of their dual guitar melodies pulled from the fact they like thrash and things like that. The way the band here seems to function, I think that traditional doom metal is a big battery to power this machine, and you'll hear Trouble in there. You'll hear. I, I would stop short of like pointing to Candlemass, but I would definitely say like listening to like Trouble and Warning, and I think there's a basal level of just enjoyment of classic doom metal there, which shouldn't surprise anyone considering the guy who started this band, Justin DeTore, was in Magic Circle and another band. Oh gosh, what's their name? Mind Eraser. They were sort of more of a sludge punk influence thing, but by the end of their run, they became more doom, and I felt like this was sort of scratching that itch, but also the finished death metal and death doom and all that. So anyway, the band has evolved. The music is better. Long story short, this is one of the better albums of the month, and I would say one of the better death doom albums of the year. It's obviously a pretty high rating, um, and I think it holds up. Uh, First impression was kind of, yeah, it's there. It's better than the last album. I don't know if it blew me away right away. I wasn't emotionally invested in it. I hadn't read any of the lyrics or tried to hear any of the lyrics. Um, I watched a performance of the band live. I got it a little bit more. I saw how it physically translates to performance, and I came to understand what this was and what it's supposed to be. Um, and it's still very much aiming for the old school death metal standard for death doom. It is very much related to traditional death metal. It's still very much atmospheric but riff oriented. They've balanced things out in a way where it's not blandly overthought. There are some rough edges, but they're there as part of the design of the whole thing. Um, it feels like a solid death metal record more than it does like a product, and that counts for something for me. So I got a lot out of this one. I've continued to listen to it after reviewing it, and it'll be one of my higher recommendations this month. There's a lot coming out in September, but this is a pretty early peak for the month in terms of like what's going to stick around, what I'm going to keep listening to. So very high recommendation on that one. Pretty much just to go buy it, whatever format fits your gig. So there you go.